What is up? Hello, welcome to day 97. My name is Bridger Frederick. I'm supposed to be posting a video every day for 180 days straight, but I'm failing epically, and that's because have spent my whole life motivated by shame and guilt and fear, and now that I'm trying not to allow those emotions to dictate my actions, it's really hard to motivate myself to not just do things I enjoy all day, every day. And I actually really enjoy this, but I enjoy, stretching and exercising and making my body feel better and surfing and all sorts of other stuff, and other stuff more than I enjoy. Mostly, I love the filming part, mostly the editing and part. But anyways, that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is science bullshit? And I think it's a question that's actually worth asking. If you're one of the many people, including myself, that would probably be triggered by that, exactly like someone who's like a hardcore Christian would be triggered by, saying, is God bullshit? Begs the question, is science a religion? And in short, the answer is basically it has become a religion, and we revere scientists as though they're almost like priests who are infallible and would never take money to manipulate the data. Like, we really put a lot of imaginary faith into science. How many times do you hear people say the science says, scientists say, and it's like, who's fucking doing these studies? I understand there's lots of studies being done, but who's funding them? Who's paying for them? Why are they being done? What financial incentive is there for the study to go a certain way? And I think if you dig down into any of it, the answer is almost always going to be a lot, because who's going to pay to do a study that finds out something inconvenient about the industry they're in? It's no one. If you imagine you own a company, doesn't matter what industry it's in, but someone says, hey, do you want to pay a ton of money to do a study to see if this thing that you're using is causing X, Y, or Z? And if we find out it is, it's just going to cost you a shit ton more money. It's just not going to happen. That's not how it happens, and we're relying on, and so the scientific method, yes, beautiful idea and works amazingly for deductive reasoning and figuring, getting to the bottom of answers, but it doesn't get to the bottom of, all the answers. Like, do we need a scientific study to prove that, like, when you're eating food with like love and gratitude and joy, that food causes less damage and is less inflammatory to your body than if you're eating it in a hurry with shame and guilt and like self-loathing for what you're consuming? Do we need a study for that? Probably not. Or is there any way to, prove over a long period of time of someone enjoying food versus, shaming themselves while they eat it? Is there any way to even prove a measurable difference? It's just all of these studies are here to measure, one small factor, and they're just lacking. It's, for things, not for everything, not for figuring out like propulsion systems on rockets or something. What I'm specifically talking about is like they're lacking for figuring out what is good for human beings individually and on a whole, as far as what we should consume, what we should do, everything like that. There's just something so, what is it called when you focus really closely on something? I can't think of the word now that I sort of say it. Myopic. That's the word I'm looking for. So myopic about, referencing all of these studies for things to do with what we consume and human health and everything like that. And it's just exhausting, because everyone, I've been obsessed with the health and wellness space for a long time, because I was so just unwell mentally, emotionally, physically for in one way or another for my entire life. I've just genuinely needed to seek how to human effectively, and did that through mostly like health and wellness podcasts, books, and articles. And in that time, in that 5 to 8 years where I've really been ingesting a ton of this information, every single person that I've trusted in the space has just 100% flip-flopped on numerous ideas that they said, when I originally started listening to them, they said with 100% certainty and confidence, the science says this thing is great for you, it's going to make you live longer, it's going to make you feel better, and, a lot of that science gets unwound over the course of years. And we just can't rely on studies to tell us about our health. It's just, for acute illnesses and stuff, and like intense sicknesses or traumas or something like that, yeah, it's great too. But for chronic, ongoing conditions and things like that, like we got to figure out why these things are happening, not how to get rid of the symptoms, because that's all you're ever going to figure out with a double-blind placebo-controlled study, is how to get rid of a single symptom. This is the only thing that you can isolate down that much to study in that format in that way. And so all you're ever going to end up with is some bullshit prescription drug, I suppose. And so we need macro factors, not these, not isolating single symptoms. We need to figure out, why do we feel this way? Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel sick? Like, what I have personally, I've struggled with gastrointestinal problems for years, ever since I did a big dose of antibiotics, and I kept going to doctors and being like, why is this happening? And they were like, who fucking knows? We have no idea, and we are not going to try to find out. But here is a pill or a fucking suppository or potentially even a surgery that might get rid of the symptom. But I was like, why is it happening? I'm having everything. I'm allergic to everything that I eat. Everything I eat causes massive inflammation inside my body, pain, diarrhea, constipation, you name it, just awful symptoms. And it was almost anything that I would eat, and no one could even begin to ask why. It wasn't a matter of like, could they find out? They wouldn't even ask. I mean, there wasn't even a question on a gastroenterologist's, docket of things they're trying to find out. They're just trying to see what the symptoms are, and even if they give you, they might investigate, figure out, oh, look at this, it's Crohn's disease, but why do you have Crohn's disease? What's causing it? What's actually happening? And it's just impossible. Number one, there's no money to fund studies like this. It's great to be like, how do we get rid of the symptoms of Crohn's disease? I'll fund that study if I'm a giant pharmaceutical company, because if we can figure out how to, a pill to get rid of the symptoms, I can now sell it and it's great. But if you just, a study to get all the way to the bottom of what's really causing it, because it's not going to be a single thing. It's going to be a huge combination of factors over this person's entire life that led to the creation of this sickness. Things they're consuming, things they're consuming, ways that they're thinking, lifestyle factors they're not doing, sleeping, everything together is combining into a condition in the body where a disease can happen. And yeah, it's just too complex to study. You have to just use your intuition. We all need to just trust our intuition way more and stop looking to science like a religion. So yeah, I do actually think that a lot of science is bullshit. I think it has huge utility, and you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying we don't need science, we can't utilize science to figure out all sorts of stuff, but I just think we can't rely on science to tell us that we shouldn't, inject children with like crazy fucking combinations. I'm not even going to go into the vaccine thing. I think the vaccines have a massive place as well, but I think we need some common sense to be like, how many is a reasonable amount to inject into an infant before a certain age? And like, let's measure this. Let's figure this out. What's going on here? It's just a question that needs to be answered with some common sense included inside of it. And that just goes with all the I just said vaccines because it's a major issue that's coming to the forefront of everyone's thoughts kind of for the first time in the last few decades. And so I just think we need to answer some of these questions with a combination of science and what we know, and also intuition in the interim, while we wait for the science to catch up. It's like we do all these things that may or may not have enormous consequences to us, and ingesting medications and putting chemicals in the food supply, or even like with smoking. It was like we waited until the science said that smoking was bad for you before collectively we all started making strides towards not smoking, which is insane. Like, let's make strides towards not consuming chemicals in mass, and having chemicals in our food. Let's just use intuition to be like, let's not feed chemical laden garbage to children. Let's just be like, if our grandmother wouldn't recognize, if our great-grandmother, let's say that, if our great-grandmother wouldn't have had access to this or anything like this, or even recognize it as a food item, let's feed it to children in severe moderation, not as, super processed food or the primary source of their intake. But yeah, just food for thought. I have just relied on science and what the science says and deductive reasoning, and if it can't be proven, then I'm going to hold it with severe cynicism. And then out of desperation, I just decided, I'm just going to put faith in ideas and thoughts and beliefs that served me in a super positive way. And as soon as I did that, everything in my life just transformed and changed, and I started making rapid progress towards feeling better mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically every single day. I almost have zero gastrointestinal problems, or very, very little. They're have reduced by 90% just in the last 6 weeks. And I have not been eating completely perfectly. I've been eating less perfect than in the 6 weeks prior to that. I have way less symptoms. And I really think it's because of just emotional alignment, and just feeling, getting rid of all of this shame and fear and guilt that I allow myself to get sucked into all the time. I actually think that is curing my gut problems. And it may sound woo-woo, may sound esoteric, but yeah, the woo-woo and the esoteric, it turns out, are really, really important. So I just hope that this lands on someone with cynical ears and just turns the dial of cynicism down just a little bit, because it's not advantageous. It's much more advantageous to listen and believe people and take on their ideas and believe, all of the different things that you hear in the world. Take it on for a little bit. Believe that it's true. Just, put full belief in someone else's, someone else's idea that you don't agree with. Put full belief in it for a while and just test it out. Do your own little scientific method but do it with belief rather than evidence. Just put belief in something, see if it serves you, see if it works, see how it changes your perspective. Because that's the coolest thing, is as soon as you take one belief, whatever that is, and really believe it, take it in and just be like, if this was true, and live through the perspective that you believe it's true. Once you do that, it quickly can put the pieces together. You can all of a sudden understand things really clearly from other people's perspectives and really see and feel. That's the more important part. It's not just about understanding things from other people's perspective. It's about feeling the emotions that they feel, because as a human species, that's how we really understand something. Until you link the correct emotion to something, then it's not, it completely changes the understanding. Like, if there was something that happened in your childhood that you feel incredible shame for, and you have it linked to the emotion of shame, until you understand that linked to the emotion of like gratitude, being grateful that it happened so you could have this other understanding or whatever, until you link it to a new emotion, it's understood completely differently. How we understand and perceive things is directly in line with our emotions towards them. So if you have fear of an idea, it's just not, you're not going to be able to understand it properly. And we have so many fears of so many ideas as a culture and a society right now, or just as a species in general forever. Right? It's not just right now. I mean, we just deeply fear ideas that contradict anything that we currently believe. And I guess that's, justified because of what I just said. But fear is not the right emotion to have towards an idea. Have courage. Have courage and believe in yourself that you're going to be able to, look through a perspective or an idea and still maintain your identity. Because I think that's the problem, is people have their identity, their ego wrapped up in these beliefs. And if something contraindicates it, it basically, threatens who they are, and it's just absurd. And I'm guilty of it too. I said that with a little, bit of vitriol, maybe is the right word, but you say things when they're a reflection of, you have negative emotion towards things when they're a reflection of you and things that you don't like in yourself. And so that's where that comes from, is because that's just a stupid way of thinking. I'm very guilty of it as well. But yep, that's it. Food for thought for the day. Day 97 is a wrap as far as this video goes. But I'm going to go to work, sell some health insurance, and get on living my best life. Hope this finds you well, and have a fucking awesome day.